Hey, I'm Jennifer Houle, and this is Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. I brought you a interesting job posting this week, Paul.
Love interesting.
Love interesting. Let me tell you how I found it. I was perusing Reddit, as one does, and somebody had posted screenshots of this job posting. And I was able to find it. It's not an active posting, and not everyone that we share is, but I was able to find it.
Mm.
And what struck me was not so much the posting itself, but part of the application process.
Oh.
So we're going to get into that a little bit too, because I think that it changes, for me anyway, it changed how I felt about the job posting. So yeah, credit to Reddit for this one, but it was in the what is it called? The subreddit recruiting hell. Uh, which I spent a lot of time on because of the nature of what we're doing here. And they've got some good ones. Some I question whether or not they're real. I think maybe some people just make some up, but this one I was able to verify and find and rabbit hole all about the company and everything. So that's the background of it. Let's go for the
But Reddit hell, yeah. I'm sure that there's a bunch of stuff on there that's just completely fabricated, which to me is hilarious. Like what's your motivation for fabricating stuff on Reddit? Like, are you doing it for the upvotes? Like, what?
I know. I think maybe it's just for attention, maybe trying to create a viral moment, trying to have
Mm,
community. I don't know. I don't know, but I I visit Reddit every once in a while, and I look in the human resources subreddit because sometimes again, there's good community there. People are asking some good questions. It gives me inspiration for what I could write my Substack posts about. And then
mm,
sometimes I just genuinely want to help. Somebody wrote something about how doing layoffs and terminations is so hard, and how can we make them a little bit more human? And I was like, oh, I wrote an article about that,
mm,
let me share it. And I was, just this is about learning from my mistakes that I've made in my career when it comes to terminations. It's not going to be a list of like do's and don'ts, but just a reminder that we are humans and how we can bring humanity into the process while remaining legally compliant. And so I felt like it was really aligned with the question that they were struggling with. And then I also said that if you don't feel comfortable clicking on a post, let me know and I can screenshot or however you want me to share it with you. And some people commented, there was some generally positive feedback, but one person was like, this article is unfortunate, gross, just gross. So then I went back to read it because I was like, what did I say that was so gross? But like, honestly, it wasn't. It's just
mm.
stories about terminations gone wrong or things that I wish I would have done differently, but nothing in it was like gross or mean or anything. It's just one person sharing a learning moment. So that I reminded myself that it was Reddit. It's Reddit. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. So yeah,
Haters gonna hate no matter what you do.
yeah.
Haters gonna hate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's wild out there. I try not to go there too frequently, but again, for the purposes of my Substack and for this podcast, it can be helpful to visit
Yeah.
small doses.
Yeah.
Let's go over the Roasty profile. The job title is product designer. The
Mm,
report to title is unknown. Company size 201 to 500 employees. The industry is hospitals and healthcare. What do they do? They connect patients and families with dedicated healthcare advocates like nurses and care specialists who guide them through the healthcare system to improve outcomes and ensure they don't fall through the cracks. Love that. Head office location is Redwood City, California. Job location is remote US. Geographical operating area is USA, and the job type is full-time. Got it?
got it.
Okay, let's go into it. Paul, as everyone knows, has not seen this in advance, and I have selected bits and pieces that I find to be interesting and worth further discussion. And so I'm not going to read through everything, but just the highlighted parts. So, about the company, it starts with healthcare in the US is fundamentally broken. The system is so complex that 88% of US adults do not have the healthcare literacy necessary to navigate it without help. This company cuts through the red tape of healthcare by pairing patients with expert advocates and giving them the tools to make better decisions and get better outcomes. The company isn't a place to coast, though. We're here to redefine healthcare, and that demands urgency, precision, and heart. If you're looking to stretch yourself, sharpen your edge, and do the best work of your life alongside a team that cares deeply, then you're in the right place. We're intense, and we like it that way. So that's the about the company. And normally we don't spend a lot of time in that space, but just wondering if anything stood out to you, if there was anything that you liked or didn't like in that opener.
That was really well written. That was quite compelling. That is probably one of the best about the company slash mission alignment statements that I think we've come across in doing the show the last like what it's been 4 months now. It's one of the best that we've come across. It was really good. They got my attention right up front when they said the healthcare in the USA is broken. Uh,
Yeah,
I think that everybody can agree that that's the case, and like not to throw shade because we're Canadians and we've got our own challenges with our healthcare system. But they were really on point by saying it's broken, let's fix it. And they kind of said like we're on a mission. If you want to do work that is meaningful to you to for this purpose, then join us. That was great. That was a breath of fresh air. They did say also you're not going to coast. That was honest. That was good. I'm already kind of feeling with this one that it's going to be this job, this person, they're going to be in kind of a crazy role, and there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Whether or not it's out of control chaos or managed chaos, I don't know. We'll see. Let's carry on. But strong start.
absolutely. Yeah, strong start. What an opener. I really appreciate that. It's a mission driven organization, and you
Yeah.
can get the feel of that right from the get go. And I do appreciate the honesty too, right? Like if you want to go
Mhm.
somewhere and you are just going to have like a more chill, relaxed job, then you know from the beginning that this isn't for you. And like I wouldn't bother applying if I didn't feel like I had the capacity to give it everything. Like they're telling you that straight up. So yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's super honest. When we talk about infusing a job posting with your culture, that's what they're doing here.
Mhm.
uh you don't have to specifically say we are a culture of blah 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 blah. Like it's very evident there. So yeah, I really appreciate that too. It goes into about the role. As a product designer at the company, you are responsible for bringing value to our users by designing the healthcare experience of the future. You will be expected to distill complex ideas into beautiful, usable products, a role that requires equal parts clarity and creativity. You'll be held to high standards, but you will do some of the best work of your life here. This role is for the hungry, the ambitious, the curious, and those who don't shy away from feedback. So again, I'm going to stop there. I know I'm breaking it up into really small chunks, but just curious if you had any initial thoughts or if you wanted to move forward after that.
It was definitely aligned with what they said in the about the company slash purpose kind of statement. Definitely aligned. Like for a product designer, and it sounds to me like they know their audience. They know their target market for this role. People who are really good product designers, they don't get into it to if you're a digital product designer, they don't get into it to push pixels around the screen. Really good product designers, and it's the same for tangible product designers, except it's not pixels, it's other stuff. Uh, but you really good product designers get into product design to make lasting differences with the users of those products. So really good product designers tend to be really heavy on user experience research. They tend to be really heavy on testing. They tend to be really heavy on like prototyping and understanding the market, understanding the constraints, understanding kind of the rules of play. So in the first sentence there tells me that this company knows that and they've got a really good bead on who they're after. That's my thought right now on those like 3 bullet points, and my thoughts were longer than the 3 bullet points. So either I talked too much or it was really good. Not sure.
No, I agree with you, and I think that you raised something important. Sometimes you will see the job posting have complete mismatches, like there isn't alignment. It's like
Mhm.
they had one part and then they copied and pasted something from maybe a different company's job posting of a similar type role, and it doesn't flow. There's that lack of alignment, and so far this is not that. So yeah, I agree, and I guess we'll see if that flows throughout the rest of it. But
Mhm.
um we're going to go into the who are you and what you'll do section. So, who are you? You are a talented designer who consistently delivers the highest quality work on timelines that would be unrealistic for most others. You get a rush from seeing your designs come to life with real users. You take pride in your creative vision, execution, and communication skills, and you absorb feedback exceptionally well. You enjoy taking ownership and are stifled by large organizations. What you'll do. Quite a few bullet points. I'm only going to focus on 3. Be autonomous. You'll take full ownership of your work and you take responsibility for every last detail, every step of the way. Rapidly produce multiple concepts and prototypes, knowing when to apply pixel perfect attention to detail and when to make lo-fi sketches. And learn and become a guardian of our consistent design framework and standards to bring the company brand to life. So I'm going to stop there. Like I said, there were a few more, 1, 2, 3, 4 more bullet points under what you'll do, but I didn't choose those ones.
Red flag stands out there for me. The part where they said you will, and I'm paraphrasing here, the part where they said you will produce basically the best design in the world in a time that in a time frame that makes other designers like kind of shit their pants. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a huge red flag because good design that is really well aligned with the users, the customers who are going to be using your product at the end of the day. That does take time, and there are things in the design process that simply cannot be rushed, and you shouldn't rush them. That doesn't mean don't find efficiencies. User research is one of them. Like find efficiencies when you're doing user research. Absolutely do, but don't rush it. Don't cut the amount of interviews in half just because you want to be faster than everybody else. That's really dumb. You shoot yourself in the foot long term when you try and do that. And if this is a technology platform that is linking patients with care advocates, they need to play the long game to be able to carve out like a defensible kind of position in this space. So big red flag. This is starting to sound a little bit like hustle, 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 don't think, hustle, 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 don't think, even though they're saying you're going to be really good at thinking. It's a mismatch for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is where I start to see some red flags. A couple of times here, they mention in the about the role, they mention this role is for those who don't shy away from feedback. And then they also mention here in the who are you, you absorb feedback exceptionally well. But then they're also saying be autonomous, take full ownership of your work, take responsibility for every last detail, every step of the way. And then they're also saying rapidly produce multiple concepts and prototypes. So for me, it does make me wonder, you want this person to be fast, but you mentioned that feedback is going to be a really key component. And so can those two things be true? Sure. It depends how that feedback is delivered, who's delivering that feedback, and how they're expected to incorporate that and still be fast, to the point where, as they say, that would be unrealistic for most others. So I would find that really scary. I would be reading that and be going, oh, okay. And what happens if I go so fast that I fail? Like, and what's first, the feedback or the producing the product, right? Like it's a little bit of a mismatch. So that's where we get into a little bit of a, I don't know. It's starting to feel I would be hesitant for sure.
That's an interesting point because I interpreted don't shy away from feedback as feedback from the standpoint of like teammates and your boss or whatever, giving you constructive feedback on like you and your work, not
Mhm.
project specific feedback. But it's a very good point that they could mean, and they're talking about the design work in this section. So it's probably what you thought, that they're saying you must be willing to take in product feedback as you're working on the designs. It probably is that. And if that's the case, I'm kind of with you. Like that's another thing where there's a tension there that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. I do like that they said um, be autonomous and take ownership. Those are really good things, really good characteristics for a top-notch product designer to do. But the question is, does the power structure within the organization, and more specifically like within that part of the organization, allow for that? You could walk into a room with 10 product designers and ask them like, hey, have you ever tried to take ownership of a product and move it forward your way, only to have like the feedback from seven other people who are kind of sort of related to the work that you're doing derail you, and you didn't know who to pay attention to and who not to? I guarantee you 9.5 out of 10 are going to be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I have.
Oh yeah, I can think of specific moments for sure, in my career anyway. What I do like so far though is the honesty. That you couldn't possibly get this job and
Mhm.
have be in these situations and be like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming." Like they're telling you right there. And so I would rather, although I might not agree with, that approach, I would rather that a company is honest about it. And like you
Yeah.
said, without knowing the reporting structure, there's we just need a little bit more information. So um let's go to what you bring to the table. Comfort with ambiguity,
Mm.
curiosity for all things beautiful. While we do not design for design's sake, your appreciation for the finer details matter. Good design isn't noticed but felt. You deeply understand this concept. We worship at the altar of Figma, so your fluency is imperative. A bias toward action and execution. You get nervous if you're not sketching concepts, tweaking flows, or polishing the designs that represent the big thinking work. 3 to 5 years of relevant experience designing consumer web products for desktop and mobile, an online portfolio of your work. So that is the what you bring to the table. And then it also says applicants must be based in the United States. I'm actually just going to finish because it's not that much longer. Then it says
Okay.
up for the challenge. We look forward to meeting you. It mentions fraudulent recruitment advisory that the company will never request bank details or offer employment without an interview. All legitimate communications come from their official email, and they give a way to report any suspicious activity. So that's it. That's the job posting.
Okay. There's as much to talk about in what they said as there is in what they didn't say.
Yeah.
So the one thing that really stood out for me in the what you'll bring or what you bring section is and I wrote it down because I liked it so much. Good design isn't noticed but felt. That is, yeah, that is absolutely true. Whomever wrote this job
Yeah.
ad either is a designer themselves, or they consulted some really good design people. Like there are designers who push pixels around and don't really think about the intellectual nature of their craft, and that's fine. Production artists, production designers, like tons of them out there, they do really important work. But there are also designers, and these types of designers are more like experienced designers, and they think deeply about the underlying purpose behind what they're doing. They think about design language. They think about connection with the audience. They think about all of the things that you actually you can't put into the design itself. Like there's just no way to express them except through the underlying mechanics of how the design works and what it does for the customer at the end of the day, the user. So they connected the dots on that. Like two thumbs up. Good for you. These people know what they want. They want a designer, and I love that. I think that there needs to be more of that in the space where we're talking about like digital design and product design. Uh, you need to be comfortable with ambiguity. Okay, cool. Um, Kind of like what you said. They're being honest about it. That's good. That's like I also count that as good. They said earlier, you need to be comfortable with taking ownership of your work and moving it forward. The ambiguity part kind of lines up with that, but I still got the same questions about the power structure. Will you actually be able to take ownership of this, even when there is ambiguity? Because there are design is one of those things where there are tons of cooks in the kitchen a
Yeah.
lot of the time, and it gets really, really counterproductive. So, is this going to be a factor there? Yeah, maybe. Fraud statement, we're seeing more and more of that. I mean, I don't know about you, but the past well, I'd say the past like 4 to 6 weeks or so, I've been seeing a lot more fraud statements on job ads, like urging people to be cautious and will only ever contact you from like this domain. And, there are these other things that help you tell it's legitimate. Been seeing a lot more of that. That tells me that this is becoming a problem for more companies. Like you can see where in the age of AI, this is like, it's becoming a thing, right? So I
Yeah.
like that they put that in there. But they were missing some really important stuff. They were missing, like your accommodation statement. And if these folks are headquartered in California, that's a no-no. You need to, in California is like the most kind of progressive on this stuff of any of the states in the U.S. Like you need to pay attention to accommodations and like interviewing and like all that stuff. They had no statement about that. They didn't have anything about inclusion, which also I found kind of a miss. Like it's like they've talked about the culture halfway.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
finished they've finished their employer brand stuff to about 50%. They did a great job on the mission and the purpose and the alignment of that to this position, but then they didn't actually do much of anything when it talks about like the internal culture of the company. What's it going to be like working there? It's kind of a miss for me.
I
That's
know.
kind of
I agree. And I feel like going back to some of the what you bring to the table, I do agree with you. I feel like this is a good example of, and I'm just assuming, which we do all the time on this show, a good example of when HR and the hiring manager work together to create something.
Mhm.
It screams like there was some really decent collaboration going on here, and I love it. Their culture is scattered throughout. I love the line "We worship at the altar of Figma." I think that's hilarious, and it's right. It's a good indication of their culture and what they're going to be like to work with. So it does seem like, although it's going to be go 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 and very busy, the culture itself will be quite relaxed. But that could also be a red flag for someone. That could be considered exclusionary type culture, and it could mean that somebody might not feel like they fit properly in that kind of environment. But again, they're being honest, and so you would use your discretion when applying for a job like this. It is weird that they don't have any benefits. Like
Yep, that was
what else do you get? Yeah, no
my
benefits.
next thing. No benefits.
You're talking about like how broken the healthcare system is. So like what are you offering to your employees? That's such
Do
a
you have health insurance? That I think would be like the number one question, right? Are you
right.
actually doing something about this broken healthcare system by putting your money where your mouth is and like paying for decent insurance for your people? Does
It's
not
wild
say
to
that.
me. It's
That stuck
wild.
out for me.
Yeah. And it's the whole thing is like a buildup. It's like you're just about to sneeze and then something interrupts your sneeze and you're like, oh, okay, well, now I have like watery eyes and a runny nose. They dropped the ball at the end, and I'm befuddled. I don't understand why. It was going in such a good direction, and then it's like somebody was interrupted while they were writing the job posting, and they're like, "Oh, slap the fraudulent advisory on it, and we're done." So that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
But they did list compensation, so we are
Okay.
going to get into the compensation. Going on the job posting, tell me what you think that the compensation is for this role.
Okay. This is a product designer. It's remote US. The company's domiciled in Redwood. Is this did it say senior product designer or just product designer?
Just product designer.
Just product designer. Okay. So there isn't going to be, probably not going to be a bunch of like people management type stuff. Um, this is where, kind of knowing a little bit about the report too and the org structure would be super helpful. Like, is there a senior product designer in that group? That would kind of make, this judging like where you sit and what you can expect to kind of like get out of this a little bit easier. This isn't healthcare. It's software. It is software, right? They're not building like physical. Okay, it's software. So the margins are going to be pretty darn good, the operating margins.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry, it does say under industry, it does say hospitals and healthcare, but
even better,
so I don't
even
know.
better.
Yeah, I don't
In
know.
in in the US, that's like a license to print money. If you're selling directly to hospitals
Yeah.
and like insurance groups and stuff, like even better. Um, I would probably put this at in US dollars, 120 to 140,000 a year.
Um, it's not that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's
Okay.
it's 100 to 115.
Okay. Okay. It's a little bit lower than what I
It's
thought.
a little bit
All right.
lower. It's a little bit lower. The spread, like the range is really small. Like I would love to know if I got offered this job and they offered me 100, I would be pissed. I'd be like, just give me 115. Like what
Yeah.
that's your range. Just give me that because it's so small.
Yeah.
So the range makes me curious about structure, which we talked about. I don't know why my camera went blurry, but my camera is blurry and I don't know how to fix it. Um,
Turn it off and turn it on again. Tech support advice. There you
ah,
go.
okay.
I
Um,
have a theory. I have a theory about this. So the 100 to 115, 115, 100 to
yeah.
115. Yeah. Okay. So that if this was an in-person job in Redwood, California, they wouldn't get anybody apply for this. They might get like a student who had 0 years of experience apply for this job and just kind of hope and pray. There are tons of software companies in that area, like Microsoft's around there. Um, yeah, Microsoft has a big campus around there. So I think they went remote to be able to get someone who is more talented at the amount of money that they can pay. It's kind of smart, to be honest.
it's such a coincidence that as you were talking, whoever watches this is going to wonder what just happened. I had a sneeze that
An interrupted sneeze.
I had an interrupted sneeze. I couldn't get it out. So that's why all of a sudden I was like, I looked like I was having some kind of, I don't know, event, health event, health crisis. I need this company to help me. Um,
You need someone to advocate for you.
I need someone to advocate for. Let a girl sneeze. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe it's partly that. And it also makes me wonder just about like structurally, what is your path of development and progression in such a small range like that?
Well, and is there going to be one? Because
And
a
is there going to be one?
201 to 500 person company, like that's a fair, it's a decent sized workforce,
Yeah.
but it's not like a GE or a Microsoft or a Google or anything. Like there may very well not be a progression pathway for you in this company, and that's not the end of the world. Like, it's not like this has to be absolutely every company has to have these kind of things. Some organizations they just can't afford to train and progress and support people like up from janitor to CEO. Like, it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah.
But I would really kind of wonder if there actually is the capability or the possibility for that to kind of happen, given the size of it.
Yep, absolutely. They have a lot of open roles, and so they do talk
Hmm.
about, like, they mentioned something about larger organizations, if that's not gonna be for you or whatever, but then they are like 201 to 500 employees. I know that that's not, like, exceptionally huge, but that I still consider that to be, like, you know, a
If
larger.
they have a whack load of open roles, um, and they're that size, I wonder if they just closed around and they're going on a hiring spree to kind of like expand.
Oh, you are so astute, my friend. There is a line in the posting that I didn't read that says,
Oh, it says they closed around.
read more in our blank funding announcement here." And there's a link to it. So ding,
Okay.
ding, ding.
So they're staffing up because they just got a big VC check. All right.
Yeah, you know it. I love how you just named that. Okay, so let's talk before we take that break. Then let's talk a little bit about what happens when you click apply,
Hmm.
because that again was what the Redditor pointed out, and that's what made me more interested in the role than the posting itself.
Yeah.
So you click on it and it takes you to like some, I don't know, applicant tracking software, Ashby, whatever it is. And it says, we want to know the real you. Real humans read every response with care. Thoughtful, detailed answers help us understand what drives you and how you see the world. Your experiences and perspectives matter to us. We can't wait to learn more about you. A word of advice: be genuine. We expect complete sentences, clear thoughts, and a true glimpse into who you are as a person and a problem solver. AI generated responses or no responses at all will likely not be considered. We receive a high volume of applicants, so if you want to stand out, showcase your passion and skill set. And it's like you plug in your resume and your personal information or whatever. But then it goes into a list of questions, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I'm not opposed to having screening questions. It does help to uh, to go through mass amounts of applications,
Mhm.
more efficiently. But here's some of the questions. This role is for the hungry, the ambitious, the curious, and those who don't shy away from feedback. They said that already. Which are you? So that's a weird question, right? Which are
Wait,
you?
so that was the end of the question, like question mark? There's nothing else? Didn't give you
Yeah,
options of like, are you, Bob who runs to the grocery store? It just says
it
hungry,
just
ambitious.
says this role is for the hungry, the ambitious, the curious, and those who don't shy away from feedback. Which are you? And so that's just one of, I have a few questions that I'm going to run through, but that one was interesting to me because it's kind of like, well,
Do you know how I'd answer that? I would answer that by writing, I am hungry, ambitious, and don't shy away from feedback.
and curious. Don't forget curious.
Oh, curious, right.
This is what I'm saying, right? Like, what's the answer you're looking for? If are you wanting someone to say, I'm hungry? But
Yeah.
that's it. Like, you want the person to list out, like, I am all of the above. I am all of these things. So it feels a little bit like a moot
Goofy.
question to me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
why are
goofy.
you wasting your time in theirs? You say that already. That's like a direct line from the job posting. So why are you repeating that here?
It makes me feel like, when uh I don't know if you had like Frosh week where you went to university, but where I went to university in during Frosh week, the week coordinators or whatever, who were kind of pep rally people, they would come out and they banged like pots and pans outside the residence at 6 in the morning to get us all up so that we could go do these like car wash, team building, community building kind of things. And they would yell out stuff like, "We want you to be blah. Are you blah?" And everybody would yell back, "Yeah." It reminds me of that.
Was this for like a fraternity type thing, or just
Oh,
everyone?
just like standard issue residence at university where I went. It was like Frosh Week was optional. You could go, and it was a week where there were no classes or anything. Like, it was really just get to know the people around you and have fun, and like, you're away from home for the first time. Like, let's get you kind of situated and feeling like you're a part of it. It was that. You didn't have to go to it. I did. I had a lot of fun, but it
I
was still
mean,
like You guys are really peppy for 6 in the morning, like,
Yeah.
bugger off.
I personally would rather die than participate in things like that, but that's just me, and that's how I've always been. But I get what you're saying, right? Like it's kind of like that. It's like we all know what you want us to say. Imagine answering that question incorrectly, like, and I guess that's what the point is. They're screening people out. Another question: what does beautiful design mean to you? I
Hmm.
mean, relevant. That's relevant, but I think if you read through the job description, they kind of tell you what to say for that one too. So fair enough.
They do, but I actually think that's a very insightful question to ask for someone in this role, like, it kind of being point on, with your target audience and knowing the kind of designer that you want. That's a very insightful question to ask. I actually think that's quite a good one, because the person
Insightful.
who is yeah, the person who they're ultimately gonna want on this team, they're gonna write stuff and talk about, like, influences and talk about, like, different styles and whatnot. Like, the person who they really want in this role, they're gonna see that question and be like, "Oh my god, I have so many opinions and nobody's ever asked me. Here, let me write you, like, a novella." I think that's a good question.
I think so too. And I'll get to like a summary here, but the next question is what's a brand or product that you admire the design of and why?
Mm, mhm.
Again, I think like you just said, I think that's a really good question to be asking for this role. Describe something you've learned lately. And then the last question is record a video describing why you're the best
Mm.
person for this position. Keep the length under 1 minute and include a link in your answer below. The best way to provide a video is through Loom or a YouTube link. And that's where they lose me. And so I think that those questions that you said are good questions to ask. I agree. I don't know that they're screening questions because my concern is that somebody is going to get to like a culture fit round of the interview and they're going to be asked those questions again because why wouldn't they? That's what you would be asking in that interview. So asking it now, I guess, as long as they're not asking it again down the road. And then they lose me with the video, everything. It's just, to me, just like the job posting, everything was going well. And then you kind of lost me. And it's the same thing with this application process. And it also doesn't say what are the next steps, what are it's going to be. You know what? Like I love the job
Mm.
postings. Say, here's our process, 30-minute phone screen, then round one with so and so. Like provide that information as well. If everything everything in the application and the job posting is take, 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 and they're not giving anything. They're not giving the candidate anything back. We don't know about the benefits. We don't know about um, the reporting structure. We don't know what the interview process is going to look like. We don't know when they could expect to hear back. Like they don't give anything back to the candidate. So you can be sure that that's what it's going to be like to work for this company is my hot take on that. But curious to hear your opinion.
Yeah. The first question was dumb. For sure. The ending, the video, that was no, that was really bad. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. The stuff in the middle I felt was actually pretty good. I definitely take your point that that's the kind of stuff that you would talk about during a proper interview, like with the hiring manager and or members of the team that you're going to be working with,
Yeah.
to kind of assess like the cultural and vocational fit. But I don't think it's terrible at this step too, because it will actually make it easier, assuming that the person who reviews these is either a designer or is willing to enlist the help of kind of like their perfect designer in doing it. You're going to be able to tell pretty quick which ones came out of like ChatGPT or Claude,
Yeah.
and which ones were written by like the designer with intellectual curiosity. So I think as a screener, kind of good. The video thing, no, no. Especially just no. You're going to introduce so much bias there.
Yeah.
There's two big issues with requiring people to record a video at this stage. And, I hate it so much. It drives me bananas.
Dude,
Number one, you're
right,
introducing bias
you're introducing bias
because
and right from the get-go. Like that's asking so much like work for this person to put in right from the get-go. I mean, I prefer phone screens that are on the phone where you don't even know what the person looks like. I also like
Yep.
to advise hiring teams not to look on people's LinkedIn profiles
Yep.
and just wait until they get like the short list of candidates and
Yep.
wait until after they've done the first round interview, if they're
Yep.
participating in the interview, because of exactly that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. My other point of why this is bad for this role is that it's actually going to screen out people who would be very. It's going to filter out people who'd be very good at this job, but are introverted.
Mm,
Really, really good designers. A lot of them are very introverted, like the
yeah.
type of designer who is intellectually curious, who really takes this up as like it's their calling and they love it. That's who you want. But that person a lot of the time is an introvert. They're gonna get to the recording a video thing and be like, "Ooh," and they're either A, not gonna do it, or B, they're not gonna come across as their normal natural self because they're so damned anxious about the whole thing. So like this company is shooting themselves in the foot with this stupid video thing.
I know, I agree. And not just like introvert, but like neurodiversity. Like there's all sorts of
Yep.
reasons why the interview process itself is does not work for everyone. And then add this, and this is like a new-ish thing the past few years or so.
Mhm.
I find it so I just don't like it at all. I think
Yeah.
it's for all the reasons that you listed. I think it needs to go away. Why? Like why? Why you're just if you're interested in interviewing the person, interview the person. Don't make them jump through all of these hoops.
Yeah.
Um,
If you really wanted to have this sort of more rich kind of experience at the screening stage, audio only. It doesn't have to be recorded video. It
yeah.
can be record like audio, and you could say to them like, turn your camera off while you're doing this so that we don't like see you because we don't want to develop bias, but we would like to hear in your own words to make sure that you're not a bot. Like, could
Yeah,
do
I
something like that if you needed to.
I guess that's a good point. Like, what is the desired outcome here from the companies who choose to do this? Is it to reduce their time? Like, is that the screen then? Is that what the phone screen would be? And it's replacing it so they're not wasting their time. They still have to watch it. You're still investing the same amount of time watching the video.
Yeah.
So are you making people do this? It's just interesting to me of what is that desired outcome by having people do this?
Yeah, and when they said in there that they also said that they wanted you to record a video using Loom or YouTube. That tells me that it's not a part of an ATS, and
Yeah,
there isn't like an LLM system that is like ingesting the video content and like scoring it or grading it in some way. They're just like record a video,
you're
and
right,
it's
because
like,
they asked for the link to the video. They're like, enter the link to your video here in this space. What's
yeah,
interesting to me is that then I went and looked at some of the other job, like open postings for this company, and they didn't have this request. So, and this
mm,
isn't old, like I said, this isn't an active listing. So I'm wondering if they did away with it because it doesn't seem to be on any of the other
mm,
job postings,
maybe,
or if there was something specific about this role that they wanted people to do the videos, or were they just experimenting, right? They're like, let's see how things work when we do it this way versus when we don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like
yeah,
I just don't know what the logic is, but it does not appear in their other job postings. So I thought that that was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay, well, what we're going to do right now is take a quick little break so Paul can review the job posting in full, and then we're going to come back and give our final scores. Okay, we are back from our break. Paul has had the opportunity to completely review the full job posting, and that means it's time for us to give our final scores. So, Paul, what would you rate the job posting out of 10? And then what would you rate the job design overall out of 10?
Yeah, so the job ad itself, there were parts of it that I absolutely loved. In fact,
Yeah.
the majority of what they wrote here, um, I loved. I really, really, really liked. Strong alignment to purpose. Like they know who they're after. to come into this role. It's really, really well done. It pains me to say this, but I'm going to score this a 5 because of the things that weren't there. The things that were there compensated a little bit, but the things that weren't there were kind of damning. There's no talk about benefits, not even health insurance, which if they're really all about this mission to redefine healthcare and, fix the broken system and whatnot, and they're not coming to the table with, hey, guess what? We're going to give you health insurance. I don't know about that. That's a problem. That's a problem for me. I hope that it's just an oversight and they didn't include it because somebody got rushed. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for this. It was missing. It was missing that. It was missing who you're going to report to. There wasn't really a sense either of the responsibilities. Like, it did talk a lot about who they want, who their ideal candidate is, and that was really good. But they didn't talk about the responsibilities. That was a big miss. Didn't talk about the team structure. A lot of job ads don't. But I think with this one, where there was so much other missing stuff, that was kind of more glaring. Like, I would want them to talk about the team structure a little bit. Rating the role design, I don't think I can, because there is absolutely nothing in this job ad that talks about those responsibilities and what you're actually going to be doing. Like, it does have some very broad statements, like, you'll be comfortable with ambiguity. Okay, that kind of gives us some hints about the job. It says things like, all right, you will own product design. Okay, that says something about it. But functionally, it says nothing about what you're actually responsible for, other than this nebulous concept of you're responsible for the product.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Don't
So no, so unable to
can't even
rate.
rate it.
Yeah. Okay, so and I agree. So I would say 5 out of 10 for the job posting. It's like halfway there, but there are a lot of missing pieces. Like you said, it's hilarious that they're so passionate about the healthcare system being broken, and you read that and you're like, yeah, someone gets it. But then they don't talk about how they take care of you in that situation, and so they're like part of the problem, which is not great. Yeah, it's so funny because they really hook you on like these cool terms and I don't know, statements. It's really, really bold, it's really honest, but then when you read it, you're like, exactly like you said, what are you actually responsible for? It's all about who you are, what you bring to the table. Like I said earlier, it's not reciprocal in any way, shape, or form, so expect it to be like that at that organization for sure, unless you have an amazing manager, and we don't know because you don't list the manager. So 5 out of 10 for that. And then the job design itself, same. Like, it's really hard to say, because we can't say you're not being paid according to your responsibilities or anything like that, because we don't actually know what they are. So it's pretty much impossible. And then I also don't like the video for the application process. So
Mhm.
that's just going to bump the score down a little bit too. I liked where they were going with it. They just didn't take it all the way, and I can't take them seriously. Like, I cannot believe that they will care about their employees, because they just failed to mention like all the things that are included when you are an employee at the organization. So if you got them, list them. We say it all the time. What are the perks? What are the benefits? It doesn't mean that if they don't list them, they don't have them, but it's just such a huge missed opportunity. And
Mhm.
you wouldn't know until you're in that process. So maybe
Yeah,
that's
and
what you can ask them in your video.
yeah, and like, bigger picture too. It is a little bit disingenuous to float the idea that you're going to, by working at this company, be able to change the face of healthcare in the United States and fix the broken system. That's not going to happen. This company, this market opportunity, only exists because the system is so broken. Like if they have a platform to match patients with patient advocates,
Yeah,
that means a part of the healthcare system that's fundamentally important is also fundamentally really broken.
absolutely.
Um, so yeah, like great words and whatnot, but you got to go in with your eyes open. And for people who are going to be applying for this job or jobs like this at this company or other companies where the job ad kind of looks similar, um, go in with questions. You know, we say go in armed with questions. This one especially so, because it does seem a little bit like this is a play to make somebody a lot of money by tacking on to popular outrage over a social issue.
Yep, exactly. You hook the person in, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this company is part of the problem too, which is not great. So
Yeah,
yeah, well, that was another one for the books. Do we consider this post roasted?
it is roasted. See you next
Thanks,
week, everybody.
everyone.
Thanks for joining us on Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. If today's breakdown made job postings just a little easier to understand, or at least a little less painful, mash that old subscribe button. We're on YouTube and all the major podcast apps, so follow us wherever you like to listen. And if you spot a posting that feels off, confusing, oddly ambitious, or just plain entertaining, send it our way. We love digging into real examples from real people. Link in the show notes for more. We'll see you on the other side of the mulberry bush with another post to roast next week.